Hey guys, it's Kaz here, and it's been a while, but today I'm here with a video, part 1 of 2. So Lois over at Lochan Reads did these videos about a month ago, and I thought it was a really cool idea. So today I'm going to do my top 10 tropes slash themes that I like in books, and then in a bit I'm going to do the worst ones. Here's the thing. When I saw Lois's video, when I first saw the thumbnail, I thought, oh, this is going to be hard because I don't really know tropes that I like. There's a few straight up that come out, but I was like... And then I watched a video, and I was like, oh yeah, I agree with that. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Oh yeah, I agree with that. And I thought, hey, maybe I do like tropes. And then roll forward a few weeks and me trying to think of my own, I forgot everything she said, and I didn't want to go back and watch a video and like steal the tropes that she liked. So it took me a while, not gonna lie, to come up with 10 things that I like and specifically maybe look out for in books. But let's just jump straight into it because there's 10, so it's gonna take a while. But obviously, and of course, I will be leaving Lois's videos down in the description, and you should definitely check them out. So these are in no particular order. Definitely just hit myself in the face. They're in no order. I just wrote stuff. So first up, I have sarcastic broken boys. I have a whole video that I made probably a couple of years now because Wise Time, that I will obviously link in the cards, all about this sort of character that I like in film and TV shows and in books. I'll give you a few examples. Asher from the Constellation Saga. He's very sarcastic, he is a troll, and obviously he has a tragic backstory because that's what we love. Ronan also counts. He's sort of less sarcastic, more abrasive, but he counts. And then also go and watch that video because I had a lot of fun making it, and you'll see loads more and hopefully agree with me. But for some reason I just love this trope. First of all, I love characters that are a bit sarky, that are a bit moody anyway, and then obviously they've got to have some sort of reasoning in their past, and then you see the backstory and then you're sad but you love them. There's also, it's not just broken boys actually, because Zoya, I recently read the King of Scars duology, and Zoya counts in the broken boys section even though she's not a boy. But we love that trope here. How can you not? Everyone does, surely. Everyone's favourite characters are always the sarcastic ones, and the sarcastic ones are generally broken. Next up we have sports contemporary. I'm not necessarily into sports in real life. I do enjoy the Olympics. I watch football when it's England playing. I don't care. I don't have a team that I support because I'm like, why are there such crazy differences? So, oh, I support this team, no, I support this team, let's have a fight. But then players from both of those teams that are English go into the English team and then they're on the same side. I don't get that sort of thing in football, but I enjoy watching England play and watching England compete in the Olympics and stuff. But it's not like a massive part of my life, but I do really enjoy sports contemporaries. So like Open Straight by Bill Conisberg. I think this is football if I remember, maybe even American football, but it might just be normal football. I can't remember. What definitely is football though is the passing playbook because it's got football right on the side, so can't go wrong with that one. Thanks a lot, John LeClaire. Hockey, you can tell. Winger is about rugby. Here to Stay is about basketball. As you can see, it's a theme. I don't need to just keep telling you and naming different sports. You get it. I enjoy it for some reason. Another trope I absolutely love is group dynamics. So I'm gonna just grab a few books I've already shown you. So of course, The Raven Cycle. I love all of the different characters in here. I care about them all. I like the group dynamics. I've mentioned a couple of characters from this world, but like Six of Crows, the group dynamics. I like these sort of books when they have different perspectives, so you get different characters' perspectives and you get to see what each of them is doing, and you care about all of them, and none of them you want to skip. But even if you only get one of the perspectives, my favourite series, All for the Game, you only follow Neil, but the group dynamics are there. I love them all. Every single character in this book also fits for the Broken Boys because they're a mess, and that's why I love them. It's also sports, but it's Exy, which is a made-up sport, but it still counts. I just think it's interesting and fun to see different characters and see different people, and obviously it can work in the opposite way, and having loads of characters and some of them are boring and some of the perspectives you don't care about, or if you have multiple perspectives and the voice sounds the same, sometimes it's distracting because you think these don't sound like two different people, they sound like the same person. But when it's done well and I love it. The next trope I love is magic based in reality. So it's not high fantasy, but it's like real world, but magic stuff's happening. I'm gonna keep grabbing the same books because I can't be bothered to look for other ones, but obviously like the Raven Cycle is set in the real world, but magic stuff happens. Also Half Bad, in this one is set in the real world. That is the wrong way around. It's set in the real world, but witches and stuff happening, but real world, set in real places. It's like the little hint of fun in the real world setting. Don't get me wrong, I do love like high fantasy with their own worlds, but I think it's fun to sort of know more about the world because you live in the world and then have the fun stuff happening. Obviously, again, it's not always going to be the best, but there's always good and bad of all the tropes. And then sometimes it's quite fun, like for example in The Culling, the series, you don't necessarily know that it's set in the real world until maybe the second book, and you see something in there and you know it's a landmark in the real and you're like, no way, it's actually set in the real world and I didn't realise. So yeah, it's fun. Next up, I have cultures, places, languages, food, all combined into one that I don't know about. So I know some people when they're reading, they don't want to get out of the zone, they want to just read the book and not have to look at anything else. Personally, when I'm reading books about different cultures and about different places and stuff, I really enjoy getting my phone out and googling something and like knowing more about it. So for example, Darius the Great is not okay. Whenever they went to certain places, I would google it and look at it and know exactly where they went, and it's really fun. Talk about certain foods, google it, and I can see the food, and then I can have more idea of what it tastes like and what it smells like and what it looks like. I just find it really fun to do while I'm doing that because it feels like I'm learning about real life stuff while also enjoying a fictional book. I also do it with like if they go to a museum or something and talk about a thing, I'm like, what's that thing? And I just think it's a really cool aspect of reading and learning while you're reading something that's not even non-fiction. Also books like Children of the Quicksands, which is set in Nigeria, so it's talking about Nigerian gods and goddesses and culture and stuff, so it's really cool to read about that and learn about it outside of the book. And it also means that the book doesn't have to spoon feed it to you and be like, oh, and this is what it means and that's what it means, because they shouldn't have to. It's the same thing with languages. So I'm just going to pick this up because I'm pretty sure it probably did it, but Cemetery Boys, when they talk Spanish in it and don't translate it, because you don't need to translate it. If you want to translate it, get your Google Translate out and translate it yourself. So the book and the author doesn't have to spend time and waste space in the book explaining something that can easily just be looked up yourself. So yeah, I think it's more weird to read a book when they write a sentence in a different language and then it tells you that what it means straight after. It's like, it's clunky, isn't it? So yeah, I just enjoy looking stuff up when I'm reading stuff and learning about it. And it also gives you little tidbits that you wouldn't know if you don't speak the language. I can't remember what book it was, but I know there was a book, I think it was Spanish, and one of the characters talks to their mum or something in Spanish and the other character doesn't know what's happening. It might not have even been Spanish, it might have even been like, it might have even been the Henna Wars. But I know a character spoke to their mum in a different language, and then I googled what they said and it was like telling them that they had a crush on the other person, but the other person didn't know, so then you feel like you're in on it and the other person doesn't know, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun. We're halfway through, so let's just nip on over to a message from one of the spawns and then I shall be back with the other 5. So next up we have emotional scenes. So if a book makes me cry, which is quite easy anyway, so you know, they don't have to put too much effort in, but if a book makes me cry, I'm more likely to remember it, I'm more likely to give it a higher rating, I'm more likely to have more of a connection with it, more likely to care about it, because it gives me an emotion, gives me a feeling, I'm going to remember that. Not always, because I cry a lot, so sometimes I look at my books in my Don't Wet the Page with Your Tears group on, or shelf on Goodreads. I have a full shelf of it. Some of them I look at it and I'm like, I don't know why I cried at that book, I can't remember. It probably was just like a few little sentences that made me tear up a little bit. And then other times, for example, like the Song of Achilles, I know that I cried like an absolute mess when I read this book, and I gave it 5 stars and I loved it, and it was just like, kick me in the face, all that. I'm more happy than not. I know for a fact that I cried for about 100 pages of this book. Like the whole last third of this book, I was crying the whole time, like throat hurting, pouring, red-faced, snot, all of it. and I give it 5 stars. So if books are emotional and they can give me that emotional impact, then I'm more likely to remember it, I'm more likely to rate it higher, and you know, it just gives me more of an impact. If it makes an impact on me, I'm gonna care about it more, is my thoughts. I know some people hardly ever cry, but I cry too much, to be honest. But yeah, those books that make me like cry, not just a few tears, which happens, it's quite easy, a few tears, but I mean like red-faced, snot, throat, dead. Love it. Next up, this one is one that I didn't even necessarily know that I liked, but I was just trying to think of some, and then it came into my head that it was a trope, and I was like, you know what? I actually do quite like that, because I read some books recently with this in, and that's road trips. So it's never really been a thing that I would think, oh, I like road trip books, I will reach for them. But I read Conventionally Yours last month and I really enjoyed it, so it's sort of in my head, which made me think of road trips, and then I was like, you know what? There are actually quite a few books that I like that has a road trip aspect to it. So obviously this book, I really enjoyed this book. Heartbreak Boys by Simon James Green, and I'm pretty sure Noah Could Never, they're also going somewhere else as well. They're going on a trip with school or something, and I really enjoyed both of these. The trip aspect, going to different places, seeing things, being caught up in weird stuff. Stick by Andrew Smith, this also has a road trip element in it. 4321, which is another book that I read last month, I believe. I read a couple of road trip books, which is why it was in my head, and I really enjoyed this. So yeah, apparently it's a thing that I enjoy that I didn't even know to look for. Next up, this is more specific with non-fiction. I'm sure you all know what I'm going to say if you've been here, and that is polar books. If a book is about a polar expedition, I want to read it. Let me just show you guys over to this side of the section. No, polar. These are all polar books. This is a polar book that's like 130 years old. It's a thing, it's a theme that I enjoy. I don't know, I would probably be interested in reading some fiction about polar expeditions. I don't know, I've never actually looked for it, only non-fiction. But perhaps that will be something. So I don't know, let me know down below if you know of any polar type fiction books. I know there's one, I can't remember what it's called, like The Terror or something. It's on my wish list anyway. It's quite a chunky one, but that's like a proper expedition that's been fictionalised. But yeah, let me know down below if you know of any, because I enjoy the non-fiction aspects. And will I like the fiction? I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Next up we have just dark shit. Dark trauma. It probably links with the whole wanting to cry at stuff, but I just really enjoy dark, gritty books. Like, yeah, there's space for like the cute, fun, fluffy books, but I like dark shit. For example, Andrew Smith, I pulled out Stick earlier. This is a very dark book. It's about loads of different trauma, like a lot of books. Even when I'm looking at graphic novels, like Sweet Tooth is one of my favourite, and this is really gritty and there's loads of killings in it and stuff, and it's dark and it's about kids and people wanting to kill the kids, you know. I pulled it out earlier, but All for the Game, yes, it's a sports contemporary, yes, it's about this weird fictional sports, but it's also very dark and about criminal behaviour and crime, and all the characters are fucked up and everybody's got something wrong with them and there's loads of trauma and all that jazz. And that's why I like it. The Wicker King, this book shows you how traumatic it is, because as you read it, it gets darker and darker, the pages do, as like the stuff gets more traumatic, and then it ends on just the black pages. So yeah, this is something I like. Don't get me wrong, I'll read Heartstopper every now and again, something cute, something fluffy, but give me some bad shit and I will lap it up. Okay guys, finally we're on the last one, so I will shut up soon. But this one, I was actually just googling tropes because I wanted to make it 10, and I saw this and I wouldn't have thought of it, but then I saw it and I was like, you know what, that is actually something I really enjoy. So spoiler alert for one of the ones on my tropes that I'm not a massive fan of, and that's Royalty, and I'll talk about that in that video. But on the flip side, I do really like the Magnificent Bastard of the Royalty trope. Like, if Royalty, I'm like, nah. If there's a bastard, I'm like, yes, let's go. I didn't realise that was a thing until I read it, and I thought, you know what, that is a thing for me that I enjoy. So I talked about Nikolai earlier. I've got Rule of Wolves in my hand because I don't know where King of Scars is, somewhere. He is a magnificent bastard, he is a bastard and he is magnificent. My favourite character in The Smoke Thieves is Edion, who is a bastard. And he doesn't even know, and then they get him and he's just like, it's like this guy that likes to steal stuff, but he's just really shit, and I love it. I just love how shit he is. I need to reread them books soon because the last book is on my 2022 TBR and I want to reread the other two first. Ironbreakers. Ren, the main character, is a bastard. And then the king and his half-brother get murdered and they think it's him and then he has to run away and do stuff. It's a good time. So yeah, The Magnificent Bastard is something that I didn't know that I cared about until I read it, and I thought that is something I care about. And that is it. That is the 10 tropes that I enjoy. I'm sure there's probably other ones that I like, but it's kind of hard because like everything is a trope. But also it's kind of hard to figure out what you like as a tropes. But yeah, let me know down below any tropes that you really enjoy. Are any of the ones that I mentioned something that you also reach for in books or care about? Or are they stuff that you hate? Would you hate to read a book that's about dark shit? Do you hate crying in books? Let me know down below. And if this is your first video about me and you enjoy it, then please check out some of my others. Obviously also go and watch Lois's videos as well. And if you continue to enjoy, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I'll see you in a few days with another video. Bye.